Alright, so privately for the past couple of months, I've been trying to set up and use Linux as my main operating system. And it all started during this video, where I said this. In the second part, I'm going to install Windows 8.1 on my ThinkPad. And a lot of you convinced me to try out Linux instead. And directly after I hit 5k subscribers from that video, I decided to try out different versions of Linux. And the first distro that I tried out was Linux Mint. I'm currently installing Linux Mint XFCE. This is the light version, and it's based on Debian, so it should support a good amount of apps. The drive that's in here right now, if you go back to the first video that I made about this laptop, I upgraded the drive from a 256 gig drive to a 512 gig drive, and that's what I've been using for Windows. I put the 256 gig drive back in here, and I'm putting Linux Mint on it, so. And a lot of you told me to use these different utilities to improve battery life in Linux, because generally Linux will have better battery life because of less bloatware than Windows, but a lot of you suggested that I use TLP, which is basically just a power management utility that allows you to get better power management than the default Linux power management options. I actually ended up finding a UI for TLP, so you can change the actual conf file that TLP reads off of. And also Intel Undervolt, which supports in between the 4th to the 10th generation of Intel CPUs. And the battery life at school, as far as I could tell, was nothing short of amazing. But DaVinci Resolve just never worked on it. And I think the reason why is because of the graphics chip that they have, but I'm not sure. But on this video where I tried to use Linux for a week, I got this comment that apparently it's easier to install DaVinci Resolve on Arch-based Linux distributions, which sort of drew me to this category, so I decided to try out CachyOS. While I was installing it for the first time, I thought it would be fun to try selecting the Hyprland desktop window manager and attempt to try it out again. Alright, I've been playing around with this for a little bit, and I figured out how to do the full screen and all that stuff. I also installed Waybar. But I'm trying to figure out how to get this to start before login. Look at this, by the way. Boom. And then after I was like 50% done in setting it up, I tried to get DaVinci Resolve on it again. If this actually opens, I'm gonna scream. What the f***? It works in Linux? Alright, let's full screen this. Look at that, DaVinci Resolve's open. No way. And it crashed. I think it just... As soon as I dragged anything into the timeline, it crashed completely, so don't know what's up there. After that, I also gave up trying to set up Hyprland because there were just way too many things that I had to set up, so I just gave up on that and wiped it. Like, I just prefer to use a normal desktop environment instead, or use a tiling window manager that is already set up for me. Now, something pretty general that I also noticed with Linux is that very often I find myself using AI to help me through issues and stuff. It does help you, whether you agree with that or not. I am saying this because Linus Tech Tips recently released a Linux related video, and one of the people in that video that were doing the challenge swore by not using AI to solve problems. But then they sort of caved and ended up using AI, and they realized that it was helpful.
I cautiously was like, I'm not using an LLM to solve my issues. I broke that after like 2 weeks.
I also ran into the LLM just like gaslighting the heck out of me.
AI is definitely in need, especially if you're a beginner that wants to go to Linux. Now, as a final resort, I tried to put CachyOS on my main desktop. And here are the current specs of the desktop if you're wondering. And I tried to install DaVinci Resolve on that, and it actually worked. Oh my god. Oh my god, there's no way it actually works. The performance is pretty good too. There were still a few issues with CachyOS on my desktop though. It has very limited support for the AAC audio codec. And the AAC audio codec isn't just some obscure audio codec that no camera uses except for the really expensive ones. The fact that this editor on Linux has limited support for the AAC audio codec means pretty much all videos taken on your iPhone or all videos taken from most modern cameras won't have any sound when you drag it into the editor, and the audio will have to be converted to another format and added in after, which is just a whole other step in your workflow that shouldn't really be needed. Looks like we got an audio stream and a video stream. There we go, I got both an audio and video. Now, there are two main video editing alternatives other than DaVinci Resolve that I could use that would actually be a viable option to learn and use. And the first one is Kdenlive. Now, I've tried using Kdenlive in the past, and I've seen people pull off some pretty good results from that video editing software. But for my little bit of time using it, I just find it clunky and slow, although I never really gave it a full chance. Another editing software that I could use is Blender, which is is another free and open source software, which I mainly use as a 3D animation tool and is originally made as that, but I do hear it does have some great video editing capabilities. So if you want me to try editing a video on these softwares, Kdenlive and Blender, let me know down in the comments. So I just wanted to add something real quick. The main reason why I can't switch is because of the app support. The app support just isn't there. So in order for me to use Linux, I have to learn some programs that are completely different from the ones that I have spent years of my life learning. Also, not to mention the fact that Linux is completely different from Windows. Like, if Windows has an issue, because I have years of experience in Windows, I know how to fix that. I know how to solve that stuff. But in Linux, it's completely different. I will continue to dabble in Linux, but I probably will not completely switch to it unless there's a very, very, very good reason for me to. So yeah, I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you loved it, please subscribe, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Bye!